Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rustic Talent channel. My name is Peter Gutu, and I am the founder of Rustic Talent. Rustic Talent helps you as individuals discover, develop, and monetize your talent. And this show we're going to be starting is called the Talent Abroad Show, which is all about helping you get to know the opportunities that are out there and different ways that you can monetize your talent abroad. So, just a bit of a background about myself. I have lived, traveled, and worked in over 15 countries. Um, I've dealt with the various immigration systems. So I kind of understand how different immigration and different countries look at immigration. Um, I have also done law, so I have a background in law, and I have worked in law firms in both Canada and UK. So I've seen quite a bit of immigration matters, and I've quite a bit of experience in that line. So today, for the very first show, we're going to be talking about how you can make sure that you're able to get a visa as an African. So the first thing you need to understand is that as an African, the chips are stacked against you. The world sees Africans as pretty much as burdens to their system. So, don't live in a fairy tale world where you think everybody loves you. Keep that in mind. So you never know who you'll meet at the immigration office. It could be someone who's biased against you. It could be someone who's not. Not everybody's like that. But if you keep that in mind, you'll be able to prepare well for your interview because you'll know that you're out to convince someone who looks at you, who may look at you in a certain way. So that makes you prepare more. You take that extra step in your preparation. So number one, remember that as an African, the chips are stacked against you. Number two, make sure that your file makes sense. It has to make sense. There has to be a flow to your file. What do I mean by that? Let's say you want to go and visit a country. Your file has to make sense. It has to have a natural flow. So you're going to visit this person. So who's this person? This person, I know them like this and like that. Why am I going out there? Where am I going to stay? How much money do I have? All the details. Make sure that it has a flow and it makes sense. If, for example, you're going to visit someone who you've never met, that will raise alarm bells to the immigration officer. They'll be wondering, like, why would you go meet someone who you've never met before? Then you'll have a lot of questions to answer. So make sure that your file makes sense. Okay, number three, make sure that you prepare your file a day before. It has to be well prepared, well labeled. So when you walk into the immigration office, you'll be ready. So if you're asked for this document, you know exactly where it is, it's labeled, and that gives the officer a good impression about you. They make you, you look organized, you look like someone who knows what you want, and they look at you favorably from the beginning, as opposed to going there, your papers all over the place, you don't know where things are, you've forgotten documents. So make sure that your file is ready, prepared, and well labeled for the day before. Okay? Africans, next one, do not go partying the night before. You know, it's I can't begin to tell you how many people I've seen make that mistake. They think, oh, like especially students, oh, I'm leaving, I'm going to, wherever for my studies, and they get excited. The night before the interview, they go out partying, they drink too much. The next day, they wake up, everything is in a mess. They look disheveled, they don't even know, they're not They don't even know like where their paperwork is, and then they rush to the embassy. They can't even answer questions. It just becomes a mess. So make sure the night before you have good sleep, you are rested, well rested, and you're ready, for your interview. It's only, just sacrifice, whether it's that one day or whatever. Just make sure that you're well rested and ready, prepared for your interview. Okay? The next one, which I've seen is a huge issue, is people overdressing. So dress appropriately. If you're a business person, wear business casual or wear a business suit, that's fine. Or if you're pretty much a student, wear you know, just simple clothing. Do not overdress, because if you do that, you give the impression like you're trying to impress. Things like, small things like that may not make a lot of sense to you, but remember you're dealing with people from a different culture. So in those cultures, they have the way that they do things. So to be able to blend in and to make a good impression on whoever you're going to seek permission to go to their country, you have to understand how they think. So whatever you do, do not overdress. If you're unemployed, don't go dressed like you look like you're about to go for a high powered meeting, because they'll be like, why are you dressed like this, and where are you going? So dress appropriately. All right. uh, Arrive early. Keep time. If your interview is at 9, make sure you're there at least half an hour before, so that you even an hour if you can, so that you go, you take your time to go through security. You don't rush yourself, you don't confuse yourself, you don't drive yourself insane losing documents. Arrive early, give yourself enough time to get there, so that when you go in for your interview, you'll be calm, you'll be confident, and you won't be nervous. Okay, so arrive early. Okay, now when you finally get called in for your interview, okay, you walk into the room, exchange pleasantries with the officer, look confident. Okay, look confident, and then listen to them. Don't just start talking over them. Give them time to ask for whatever they're asking, and make sure that you listen. So if they ask for a certain document, give it to them. Do not be nervous. Tell yourself that if the worst comes to the worst and you don't get the visa, life continues. If one door closes, another one opens. Keep that in mind. So don't give yourself too much pressure and frustrate yourself in the process and make yourself nervous. Okay, so listen to what the officer asks. Okay, and then don't just shove the paperwork, because some people just get there and just shove the paperwork to the officer. The officers, they deal with hundreds of cases, so they don't have time to get frustrated by people who they're interviewing. So you have to be orderly when you go there. Then it's not up to them to look through your documents and figure out what is what. It's you who's going to make your case. So when you walk in there, stop, exchange pleasantries, listen to what they ask for, give it to them. Okay? Another thing, be polite. Don't be rude. Don't, if you're rude, that's it. These people have no time for nonsense. So you have to be polite, you have to take your time, you have to be patient, you have to listen. Okay? And the other thing is, answer questions that are asked. Do not talk about, listen. So when they ask you a particular question, answer that question. Don't go and ask and talk about something else. Don't blabber out of nervousness or just not listening. Answer the questions you're asked. Be straight to the point. Do not overshare. So if they ask you something, just give that answer and that's it. And then make sure that when you answer questions, okay, you talk about, you should know your file. So when they ask you a question, because you can walk in and then you've been listening to you've gone on YouTube and you've listened to the questions that they normally ask, right? When you walk in there, this officer might just ask you a question you didn't even think about. Like, for example, why did you choose that university? Or that, if you're going to study, why? There's so many other universities. So you have to understand your file, and you have to know the reasons why you're asking for that visa. You know, those kind of things get people denied visas all the time. You walk in there, they're like, okay, so who's paying your fees? And you're like, it's my uncle. Okay, so she's like, or he's like the immigration officer. uh, United States, for example, if you're going to the US college fees run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Why would your uncle pay that kind of money? You have to have an answer. You have to have an answer. You have to know your file. Who's paying your fee? Why are they paying your fees? So you could have an answer, quickly come up with something like, oh, my uncle, my father took care of him when he was young and paid all his fees. So, as an African, he's returning back the favor by paying for me my fees. So you have a logical answer for everything on your file. So with those few that little advice that I've given you, make sure that you look through the video again and again and understand those few points. It will save you a lot of heartache and frustration when you're trying to get visas to whichever country. My email for anyone who would like to have a personal consultation with me one-on-one, my email is down in the description, as well as a link to Rustic Talent in case you have a talent that you need to either discover, develop, or monetize. So till next time, as they say in Swahili, kwaheri.